That's better. What is this thing called love? Well, let's find out. As it turns out, this thing called love is a load of 251s. 251, 251, 251, 251, 251, 25, and then 251, bam, and kind of 251 type of thing at the end as well. So that's the chart for this. So what is this thing called love? The answer is very simple. It's a selection of 251s. Glad I could be of assistance to you. See you next time. No, I'm only joking. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go in depth into this chart, and we're going to study some of the things, the techniques and approaches and things that we can use in our practice, but we're going to use this piece as a conduit for that sort of thing. So we're going to dive straight in and look at the ins and outs of this thing. So first chord, we've got a G minor 7 flat 5, a C7 or C7 altered, and then a F minor. So the voicings I'm using for that, flat 5 starting on the 3rd fret E string, sort of standard thing with the bass note, and then with the F minor chords, minor chords in general are really kind of, you can really do a lot with them. You can really kind of influence the mood of the piece by the voicing you use. I tend to use on this piece the minor 6th kind of voicing. That kind of voicing there. So, okay, it gives it a nice sort of Django gypsy jazz type of feel to it as well. So let's have a little play over this this piece over the slower version of the backing track. Now, all three of these backing tracks within this tutorial are available on my Bandcamp. The link is in the description. Please go and have a look. They're only $1 each, or $1.1000. Feel free to go and have a listen to those and download them. They're really cheap, so hopefully they'll be helpful for you. So we'll be using those backing tracks during this tutorial. So let's have a play over the slower version of this backing track, and I'll talk about some of the approaches that I use to build phrases around this selection of 251s. Leave the phrase space to be. Leave the space to the end. Again, leave the space to breathe. Rhythm, okay, with these slower swing tempos, really pull back on that rhythm. Building phrases here like Tetris, like the game Tetris. A little 4-second, 5-second phrase, let it have time to breathe, and then move forward. Let it breathe. You got the 2-5-1 in B flat major, A flat 7. And then the 2-5-1. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about my approach with 2-5-1s. I don't like to sort of break things down into the whole kind of 3 different chords. I like to think of it as like a tone, like a story curve, if you like. So you've got a beginning, a middle, and an end. And during the beginning, you're introducing something. You're in the middle, you've got the altered, and then resolving to the 1. During that altered period, it's kind of, you've got tension. So you've got this kind of area of tension, and then release at the end. So you've got beginning, middle, and an end, like introduction, some tension, and then a resolution at the end. So that's how I like to think about those 2-5-1s. And you've got this area in the middle that you can use all sorts of things like chromaticism and altered harmony, that kind of thing, over to create tension, and the to the F-6 at the end to create that resolution at the end. So okay. And what I like to do with my practicing for 2-5-1s is to literally do it without any tempo. So you can kind of build rubato phrases like that. And that what that does is it kind of encourages you to sort of play in a lyrical fashion. So with this swing feel, I kind of hinted at it when I was playing there. With this kind of swing feel, that slow swing, you can afford to really lay back a lot. And one of the techniques I like to use to kind of accentuate slow swing is accentuating accenting the up pick. Pick naturally lands on the offbeat, you see. So accentuated offbeats and kind of really laying back on. See, there's three approaches. So you can either hit the front of the beat, the middle of the beat, or sit on the back of the beat, like you're sitting on the back of a carriage, if you like. And each swing feel, and actually each feel in general, has a kind of different imperative with that. But with this kind of slow swing, I find that it's always best to really kind of lay back on it as well. It helps the rhythm section play, and it helps the overall swing feel of the piece. So one step towards kind of achieving that is to really accentuate that up pick, okay? And that's a thing that we can structure into our practice, okay? So accentuating that obviously for effect, but etc, etc, etc. So you can really play around with those kind of melodic ideas in your practice. Don't concern yourself too much with the time. Think about building rubato phrases that really work nice in a lyrical fashion. I find that utilising the minor sixth harmony as the resolution, and using pentatonic kind of phrases to finish phrases off specifically work really nicely, because they have a good quality of kind of finishing phrases off really nicely. So again, I'm going to play a little bit, just demonstrate some of those ideas. So what we're looking at here, we've got this area of, I've got a special arrow look, area of introduction, tension, release into the minor harmony. Then we've got this, another same sort of thing here. I mean, the release here is, there are cadences, 2-5-1s at the end of the day. So that's the sort of function, harmonic function that they serve. Yeah, let's get rid of that silly little arrow. Yeah, and then we've got this other 2-5-1 here. Introduction, tension, and then resolution or release. Okay, so let's have another little play to this slower version of the backing track. Just a little reminder, it's available on my Bandcamp. Follow the link in the description. They're £1 each, they're really cheap, they're played by real musicians. Plug over with. Okay. was things at a slightly lower speed when we're talking about the swing feel there specifically. So things like, to recap, things to practice on with your swing feel is accentuating the upbeat. Now, if we play along to the medium tempo backing track, there's a slightly different feel again, and I'll talk a little bit about the approach. If I just play the backing track to you, and we'll follow it through the chart, just so we all know where we are at. So straight away you'll notice there's a different imperative. Things are slightly more on the front of the beat, and when we're building our phrases, we're still thinking about accentuating the upbeat to get the swing feel, but we're slightly kind of more on the front of the beat, more on the centre of the beat with the swing feel. I'm just going to demonstrate a bit without the backing track with this sort of tempo. So we go. Etc. So you see it's slightly more imperative, there's a little bit more content, and actually you have to sort of focus on the ride cymbal a bit more to kind of lock in with this swing feel. So there's less laying back, but you are developing more of a kind of a consistent rhythmic, rather than pulling things around rhythmically like we were doing with the slower swing. So if I play a little bit with the backing track here, and we can see how this kind of slots in, you'll notice that we still have the same idea of creation, tension and resolution with the 251s, because, you know, as I've said, this piece is really a selection of 251s. That's all it is. So once we know that, it kind of takes away a lot of the kind of complexity, and it allows us to build phrases a bit more readily. So let's play with the medium tempo backing track. Once again, it's available on my Bandcamp. The link is in the description. Let's have a little play, and I'll talk about a few of the ideas and my approaches, things that I will suggest that you do with your practice to facilitate playing over this piece at this tempo. So straight away we've got more content, more language, that kind of thing. We're developing a link with the ride cymbal. We're using the same harmonic pattern. With that G. We're all over the... all over the C. Okay. And I'm still kind of accentuating this minor sixth on the first 251. And then and with the voicings that I'm using, and that's a useful starting point actually for when you're improvising. a nice little phrase. And when you're constructing these phrases, think about, the idea is to imagine yourself actually creating these melodies in real time. So imagine you're kind of, there's someone kind of on Sibelius, transcribing what you're doing in real time. So you're kind of spontaneously composing. And I think thinking about this sort of thing in those sorts of terms helps with this idea of the fact that you're producing a melody. You're not reproducing licks, and you're not slotting licks together. Although, it is what it is, that kind of stuff, the way of thinking about it. But what we're doing here is improvising. We're producing a melody. So imagine yourself creating a piece on the fly, and imagine there's some guy transcribing it in the background for you, and imagine those notes appearing on the screen. So as you're playing this stuff, this is what you're doing. You're creating content. Okay, so you've got this. And then, okay, and again, this is a useful idea with your practice, like I said before, to sort of practice these phrases nice and rubato. And then when we get to the playing over the tempo, you've kind of got an idea of your ambition for the solo. I think it's always really good to have that before you start. You have this idea of what you want to achieve and what you want to say in your solo, so you have an idea about where you're going. Let's talk briefly about the faster tempo and my approaches to that. So let's have a little play without the track first, and then we'll put the track on, and we'll talk a little bit about the swing feel. Now, straight away, when you have these sort of faster tempo swings, they're not the kind of swung quavers. Da, 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 da. With this tempo, it's a lot more straight. So to lock in with that, you have to kind of adapt your picking pattern. Etc. etc. So a lot of I don't think the track is quite that fast actually, but anyway, it's the same difference. You're on a more of a straight kind of feel. So with your picking, concentrate less on accentuating the upbeats and the kind of uppicks, if you like, and more about creating a nice consistent stream of picking. And this, for your practice, it's absolutely critical that you practice this tempo with a metronome, okay? More so than the other things, because like I said, the straighter you get, the more on the middle of the beat you're going to kind of aim to be. So what I would say is, yeah, stick the metronome. I can't remember what the tempo is exactly. I'll list it in the show notes anyway. So again, this track is available on the Bandcamp as well. It's only £1. And you can have all sorts of fun with these tracks. They're nice. I've spent a lot of time actually on them, getting the swing feel right. So hopefully you'll have a lot of fun with this. I'm going to play a little bit along with this track now, and talk about a little bit about my kind of approaches to this kind of tempo. Before I do, check out my website www.simonpeterking.com, and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. That'd be fantastic, and put the notifications bell on. There'll be weekly lessons along this sort of nature. What I'm aiming to do is use tracks as a basis for teaching, rather than actually have specific technical aims with everything. So everything will be presented in the context of it being used in a piece. So we'll get to talk about the piece, we'll get to talk about the techniques, and I'll go into some depth with the techniques as well, and tips for practicing during the fact that we're playing over this piece as well. So it's always coming back to the fact that it's a piece of music that we're working on, So hopefully that'll be of help. I'm going to play a little bit along to the faster version of this this track, What Is This Thing Called Love, and then I shall see you next time.